Hello and welcome to Flow with Maria E. I'm Maria and Maria Esther in Spanish here in Panama. And today I have an amazing guest that I have been waiting to speak with for a while. Her name is Darice Clark. Hello, Darice. Thank you so much for joining me today. Darice is an astrologer, an astro counselor, a psychic, energy healer. You do it all. You do it all. I love that. Um, and I'm so excited to interview you today and have this conversation with you, as we're all waking up to our own connection with our soul and our purpose for being here, and really starting to think about things in a different way of why we're here. And something that I know that I've always been interested in my path of awakening, is like horoscopes. And well, horoscopes I've been interested in them all my life. Like I'm an Aquarius. I know you're an Aquarius as well. And so, I remember when I was little, like clipping out, or, just looking at it in the newspaper, like, what is Aquarius horoscope today? Um, and yeah, so that's something that just has always followed me, or I followed, because it's just fun. It's fun to kind of be have like, oh, it could be a really, really good day. And that then you start like, okay, yes, it can be a good day. Um, but I also know that that aligns with astrology, right? Horoscopes have to do with astrology. And that's what I really want to, what I want to speak about today is what does this all mean? And then I also keep hearing, like the planetary alignments. Um, yeah, there's just so much that I'm curious about. Because like I said, it's just something that I've always been interested in this path, in our journeys. So thank you so, so much for joining me today, Darice. You are in Washington, D.C. area, right?
Yes.
Thank you. And let's see, well, I like to start my interviews with what does waking up consciousness mean to you?
Oh, okay. That's a good question. Well, before we do that, I wanted to talk briefly about the horoscope thing.
Absolutely.
Because I grew up loving that stuff too, and I used to always look at the newspaper horoscope. But what helped me become an astrologer was learning that those horoscopes that we read in popular culture are often based on our sun sign. And it's not always totally accurate. What's actually more accurate is usually if you read a horoscope based on your rising sign. So now people who are more into astrology always talk about what they call the big three. So your sun sign, your moon sign, and your rising sign. So your sun sign is more about how you see yourself. Your rising sign is often how other people perceive you, and your moon sign is how you experience things emotionally or what you need emotionally. So just wanted to give like a very brief basic astrological lesson for folks. So if you are going to read horoscopes, like learn your rising sign and then read them for your rising sign, and it'll probably be more accurate for you.
And how do we know that? How do I?
There are a lot of free apps like astro.com, I think astro.cafe. There are plenty of places that you can get like a free horoscope. You just usually need your actual exact birth time if you can have it. But even if you don't have the exact birth time, putting in the date and the year and the place will at least give you your actual sun, moon, and rising sign. Um, so,
Okay, so sun, moon, and rising signs,
yeah, right.
and they
And
all have different messages.
yes, exactly. And that's kind of what consciousness means to me is learning how really nature and the cosmos is a reflection of what's going on inside of me. That's my relationship to astrology. And like I see it as how it can help me get more insight into what I'm going through emotionally. And my spiritual journey really took off when I took that approach to astrology. That it was more than just like an astrological energetic weather report, although that's a big piece of it, and then also using that information as a way to guide my shadow work and my own inner development. And that's what when I fell in love with astrology and started practicing and becoming an astrologer.
That's really, really cool. I love that. And you can use that to work on your shadow work. And for those that don't know what shadow work is, it's just like that, all that inner gunk that we have that we need to work through to kind of release it to be more free, right? To think
Yeah.
more freely and be more free and connect to our souls and get rid of all that. mm, that
Well, you know, the thing is like the more I do it, the less it feels like it's even more about getting rid of anything. It's more about integrating and alchemizing it. And
yes.
my I have a YouTube channel called Moon Life Illuminated. That's my YouTube channel. And that's what I talk about is using the astrology to look at ourselves from that perspective. And I see what's happening astrologically as the universe giving us energy to support us to do specific things. And like we were talking right before we came on about like how people are feeling a lot of energy in April. There's a lot of intense things happening. And one of the things that happened in April was what a lot of astrologers call the Great Aries stellium. And an astrological stellium is when you have three or more planets in the same sign. And every month, this usually happens. So, like, sometimes you'll hear astrologers talk about Aries season, Gemini season. That's what they're referring to because each month you have at least three signs in the same sign. So, for April, it's always going to be the sun sign, Mercury and Venus at some point are all going to be in the same astrological sign every month. And that's what means Aries season. So, when all three of those signs are in Aries. But what was unusual for April is that we had six in the same sign and for like 2 to 3 weeks. So Neptune, Saturn, which are the outer planets, which tend to have an impact on us collectively, and then the inner planets, the sun, the moon, and then Mars and Saturn. And then also Chiron, which is an asteroid. But you'll often hear other people talk about Chiron because it represents like the wounded healer. But before I get into the Chiron, I'll just talk about the stellium first. So all of that energy in Aries, and it kicked off around the new moon on April 17th. Most of these planets are going to be in Aries until the end of April, like till actually really till about May 3rd. Um, and so a lot of people are probably feeling this fire energy, and like Aries is about kickstarting stuff.
When I
And then,
started my podcast on
yeah,
April
there you go.
17th.
Classic example. Yeah.
That's wild.
Yeah. Like things
Okay.
that people have been sitting on for like months or years, they finally were like, all right, this is the week. This is the month. I'm doing
That's
it.
exactly how I felt. And for a lot of people that know me, like the number 17 has always, it's just resonated with me. I lived in a house 17. Like it's just followed me everywhere. And it was amazing that April 17th fell on that Friday, I believe. And I
Mhm.
really, really felt a push that week to say, this is what I want to do. This is what I want to talk about. This is what I want to explore and share and with everybody, yeah. Okay. So I'm sorry. I just needed to share that because that just blows my mind right now. That's really cool.
Yeah, so I just wanted to bring that to people's attention because it probably connected to the Saturn Neptune conjunction, which happened on February 20th. And that was the first time that Saturn and Neptune were at the 0 point of Aries. So Saturn and Neptune have a conjunction roughly every 30 years. And a conjunction means that just a planet comes together, like they're sort of supporting each other. Like I think of conjunctions when you hear other astrologers talk about it, is sort of like uh, the planets are like kind of like sitting at a table face together having a healthy conversation, like
Okay.
they're like, how can I support you, how can you support me, kind of thing. But what was unusual and why a lot of astrologers had been talking about it for years is because it was the first time that Saturn and Neptune came together at the 0 point in Aries in like over 6,000 years. So it was like a new beginning, and like a time that like we've never seen in our lifetimes. And so this was the first new moon after that great conjunction. So there was probably something that got seeded for people around February 20th. And also because that was an eclipse month as well. We had the Aquarius eclipse. Again, there was probably something that got sparked or seeded, and then people felt the move to act on in April as a result of the Aries stellium. So I don't know if that relates to you or not.
Yes, it does.
Okay. Okay.
Absolutely. I, yeah, this is blowing my mind right now. It's exactly how it felt. Like there was just like this push to, like, if not now, when?
Uh-huh.
was what I was thinking. And yeah, like nobody else can choose it for me. Nobody else can do it for me. It was like I needed to do this. I wanted to do this because it excites me. Um, so that's a yes. So now that we're talking, it's like an energy then that it's an energy that starts sort of that we start feeling internally.
We feel it both internally and collectively. So this is
Oh,
why you see people around you maybe doing the similar things or wanting to move. What I and the other thing about Aries too, like the highest expression of Aries is about saying I am, I exist, I move, the shadow side of Aries can be unexpressed anger because it's ruled by Mars, which represents our relationship to anger, but it's also our relationship to creativity, to being able to start something. Creativity as in being a catalyst, as in getting something started, getting that spark going. So if you have unexpressed rage or unhealed rage, which for me, I often acknowledge in myself, and I've seen it when I work with other people, is often what's under the rage is unexpressed grief. So this is why we also see on the collective the things that's unfolding in the war, for example, and like the leadership around the globe and the healthy leadership that we're having. I feel like the cosmos is teaching us that we have to move from the ugly rage to the sacred rage. Like individually and collectively, we have to learn to have a healthy dance and relationship with anger so that we can have more embodied, compassionate leadership.
oh, I love that. I love that because that's what we want. Like we're living in this era right now where so many things are happening around the world, and um, yeah, it's like we just want peace and love, literally like the 70s, like the peace and love for everybody. For me, I know that I feel good when other people around me feel good. Like I want people around me to feel good, and to feel more connected to themselves. And it is sort of like this energy that is hopefully magnetizing, uh,
Yes.
right? So that's perfect for this time right now because we are experiencing a lot of wild stuff, that I don't really pay attention too much to the news. I try not to
Hmm.
delve into it very much, but I'm aware, of
Well,
what's
I
going
only
on.
mention it because this is a part of that shadow work that we do, especially as light leaders, as healers, as creatives, as artists. I think it's important to recognize that if we do this work internally,
Mhm.
it does shift what happens collectively because we're all energetically, connected. I feel like the pandemic showed us that, like,
Yes.
completely, like we can't unsee that now.
Yes.
So, but often what happened in a lot of the spiritual healing, the spiritual work in the past is that in the desire to get to that space of the love, the joy, everyone wanting everyone to be happy, is that too many of us squashed down the grief and the rage that we were feeling. A lot of people had a lot of unhealed stuff. And it took me like over a decade to really move through a lot of the emotional traumas I had. And most of that time was me running from how intense the feelings were. It wasn't until I actually moved through the feelings that I got to the other side of it. And this is why I encourage people to do the work. And this is why I decided I wanted to be a healer. I wanted to guide people through that process of actually facing what feels really scary. And sometimes you can't face it by yourself. Sometimes you need someone else to help walk you through it. But I also want to say to people, there is another side. Like, I suffered for a good 10, 15 years from like pretty bad depression. Like, I wasn't really sure, trigger warning, if I was going to stay. And to be on the other side of that now, to be so happy and wildly alive, like I know now it's possible to get to that side that a part of me always knew was there, that I could be truly happy and in my body. And astrology and energy work, Reiki healing, I studied that. I'm a Reiki master. Like all of that is what got me to this space now. But it was by going through the hard stuff and facing what I didn't think I could get out of. that move me to that. You just can't jump over it.
Exactly. Exactly. It's a process. It's definitely a
Mm.
process. And if we don't recognize it within ourselves, we can't work with it. We can't do anything with it. And then we just stay in our minds, looping around the same thoughts over and over and over again. And then that makes us feel even worse. And so that was exactly my journey as well of like, there's got to be more because when I was, yeah, like I call it like sort of like my rock bottom moments during COVID. Um, I was just like, there's got to be more, there's got to be more. And that led me to make some changes and then really start working with my mind. And when I realized, the like awareness, like, oh, okay, I know what I'm thinking now. Like I'm aware, why am I thinking this? What guided me to think that? Why have I always thought this? And what does it feel like when I think that? And if it's lower vibrational emotions, fear and unworthiness and, all of those lower vibrations, like, yeah, you've got to recognize them, or at least I did. Like, I recognize them and realize, okay, this is something that I can't just skate through life on autopilot. It's like, I've got to work through, like, why am I feeling this way? Why am I thinking this way? Working on those limiting thoughts, limiting beliefs that I was always taught my entire life by, life. I've got to think about it this way. And so, yeah, so getting out of that autopilot and working within ourselves, the, that gunk and yeah, walking with it, recognizing it, walking with it, but not letting it control us anymore.
Exactly.
It's just like, okay, it's here. Like when I was going to move to Panama, like that fear that I felt, but it's like, okay, it's here, but I'm going to take the next step. Or even starting this podcast, like, okay, even like 5 minutes before we started, like, okay, I'm feeling all the nerves, but then I'm here, I'm like, the nerves sort of get transmuted, I guess, I've never used that word, but
Yeah,
they get transmuted. And, and then we start flowing, with this
exactly.
conversation. So that's amazing. So
And actually, that brings me back to Chiron too. We're going to talk about
yeah,
the wounded healer,
yeah,
because it's it's that idea that I've gotten from other teachers that like the poison is also the antidote. Like the answer is in what's harming us or what we're not wanting to face, and Chiron is a great example of that. Chiron represents what, or at least I always think of Chiron as what the old church ladies would talk about: test before the testimony. You got to go through the trial before you can get to the other side of it. And so, for example, a lot of people have a fear of being abandoned. So you're always kind of working with that one. And so, but there are different levels of working at it. And I like that astrology kind of invites us to face that. And I feel like a lot of the Aries energy in April was in particular just because of some of the aspects to Chiron was helping people get to, like you were saying, those like old wounds, but like seeing it from a new level. Or one of the things I always talk about with people is that spiral development of evolution. Like sometimes it feels like we're going over old patterns, but what most people don't realize is that they're going over them from a higher perspective. So you're like always up and around, up and around, up and around, but you have a wider perspective as you review old patterns because you've changed and evolved to a higher level. And I feel like that's how Chiron can work in people's astrological charts. Because I look at an astrological chart as not just the moment in time of when you were born, but your astrological birth chart can contain the seeds of your gifts and your talents, like all the things that you have potential to tap into for your entire life. And so I like to look at a chart from that perspective. And I like to encourage people to look at everything they've gone through from that perspective. And as you grow and more and do more of that, like we say, the shadow work or the shadow or the inner developing, is kind of more accurate. Is you're exploring who you are and what you're experiencing and what you're growing through, but you're always seeing it from a more higher, loving, compassionate view of yourself. So even if you're going through old ground, it's from a new perspective. You're not repeating the pattern, you're integrating and alchemizing it at a higher level.
I love that. You describe it so well. And what does alchemize mean to you? How would you describe alchemize? I have my own interpretations of it, and I love it. I love that word because it's like we have the power of
Yeah. I guess I
transform.
think of it like they say, like turning glitter into gold,
Perfect.
like that's what it feels like to me. Like in intimately and emotionally and spiritually, I'm turning the glitter into gold.
That I love that. I love that. And yeah, I do recognize when you were doing the spirals and then and I have a larger perspective of myself.
Yes.
I'm and sometimes I feel like it's like that inner child, that little voice inside me that's been with me all my life that's always been guiding me. Like that's who I was when I was little. And
Mm-hmm.
then we go through all the programming and the conditioning but it's always been in me. And so it's sort of like that part of me is starting to come out now.
Exactly.
And it's so liberating.
Yes.
So liberating. And it really, I've mentioned this in other podcasts, but like really working with that inner child wound
Mm-hmm.
of um of how I abandoned that inner child in me. Um like that glitter, the
Mm-hmm.
glitter that I was born with and
Mm-hmm.
I danced and I sang and I was bopping all over the place and but yeah, then as we get 5, 6, 7, 8 years old, it's just like, nope, don't do that. That's not right. You got to do it this way. That's where the conditioning really starts to get integrated in us. And then that's what we believe. And that's how
Mm-hmm.
we act for our whole lives until we all of a sudden, it's like, that's not me. That wasn't me. Part of me was lived all my life like that. I know, but I know also that the inner me was also present, but
Mm-hmm.
but the conditioning was always there. And to be freer of that,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to lie, like I do, I'm still constantly working on myself. I think we all
Mm-hmm.
are.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but it's recognizing what we need to really work on, I guess.
Well, I don't even know if
About
the word is
ourselves.
work.
Yeah,
It's
that
more
doesn't sound
that
right.
that
Yeah,
the
work doesn't sound right.
yeah, because even like I mean, I'm at the point now where I don't even feel like the conditioning was bad. Like I used to feel really bad that I was conditioned, to feel certain ways. And now I just see it was just part of the soul's growth, you know.
Hmm.
Like and I also think it's part of what we often talk about, like becoming a 5D person, being in that fifth dimension. Like, but we had to experience the third and fourth dimension, so we can relate to other people who are at that level. And then by moving ourselves through those dimensions and releasing the conditioning, we're
Yes.
able to guide other people on that journey now. I feel like you and myself is like 5D leaders. Like it's just part of the process. It's kind of like a teacher who has to, get educated so that they can teach other people, like that's all it is.
Yes. Yes. And I remember when I first started and I did a class called Reconnecting with Myself. And I remember she was talking about the 3D, 4D, 5D, and everybody in the class is like, what in the world are you like? Are you really saying third dimension, fourth dimension, fifth dimension? And she's like, well, we're not going to get into that right now because it's really like a lot. But it's interesting that you brought that into the conversation. Um, for me, I guess living in different dimensions all at once is
Mm-hmm.
being present, but also being connected to my soul at the same time. It's like I feel like I'm my higher self more and more every day. And but I'm still here, right? I'm still in the present with the people around me in the world that I live in. And it's like kind of like integrating all of that together, like putting all of that together so that eventually everybody is kind of like living from their higher selves, which would be amazing to experience all that. Um, So it's very interesting that you bring in the dimensional part of it. Is that how you kind of see it? Like just being more connected?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. I just feel like I'm existing at all three levels at the same time.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. It's pretty
Yeah.
wild. Yeah, because we want to be ourselves, but we're still living in the same world that we were brought up in, right?
Exactly.
And so it's just being more of our authentic selves in the present,
Yes.
wherever we are.
Exactly. That is exactly it. And actually, that brings me to the big transit that's actually starting tomorrow. We have Uranus moving into Gemini, and it's going to stay there till about 2032, 7 years. Uranus usually travels through each astrological sign every 7 years. And the last time Uranus was in Gemini was in around World War II. So some people might be, if they follow astrology, they might be hearing some scary stuff about it. And I wanted to just talk a little bit about Uranus. It's kind of considered the disruptor, the planet of big breakthroughs. It's whatever
May
kind of
I
has
just,
like,
may I
mhm.
just one quick question? So are you're what you're saying is every planet has its own energy or
Yes,
meaning?
yes, absolutely.
So when you say they're all aligning, so that means that we have a whole bunch of different planets with those kind of energies, and we're receiving those energies. Is that,
Yeah. I mean, in some
am
ways, you
I
can kind of even think about it as like they're sort of like cosmic angels who have conversations with each other, and
okay?
their conversations impact what we experience on Earth.
Okay, cosmic angels. Repeat that again, please.
Yeah, cosmic angels who have conversations with one another, and their conversations, like the process of them communicating and the decisions they make, impact us energetically on Earth.
Wow.
I've never said that before, but that's pretty much what it is.
That's really wild. Oh, I mean, I've always been interested in like science fiction and everything that has, The Matrix and Close Encounters of the Third Kind and all of that. So I know that we're part of, this ginormous, vast universe where we're all connected through our souls. We're all part of the same, living this human experience. And so I love that you say that. So literally, like the energy of the planets are kind of conversing with each other, and that's what we're feeling in the atmosphere.
Yeah, they're kind of like a cosmic council in some ways, is how I feel about it.
Wow, that is so cool.
Yeah, which is what I love about it, and I feel like they're giving us like they're sort of like giving us sneak previews of what's to come so that we can kind of prepare ourselves too, which is why people like astrology. So I'm not a predictive astrologer in that respect, but I talk about it more from an energetic perspective. And I wanted to talk about what maybe people may have been hearing about Uranus going into Gemini and some of the scary stuff. And then I have a more positive interpretation of that as well. A lot of astrologers are pretty pessimistic. I'm not sure why that is culturally. But it's one of the reasons why I want to become an astrologer because the more I learned about it, the more I was like, why are they always terrifying everybody? Like it's not necessary.
No, we don't
I
need
mean, hey,
that
people are pretty good at
projected.
terrifying themselves all by themselves. They don't need any help.
Right, right. You choose what you put into your mind, right? You choose what you
Right.
read and hear and listen to and watch and uh yeah, I prefer to yeah, let's stick with the stick with
Yeah,
the
I'd
good
rather
stuff.
encourage people to see these energies as supporting them and guiding them because ultimately I feel like that is what the divine wants from us. Source, God, higher power, whatever you want to refer to it. Like I feel like we're given all these tools and divinations as support, like to help us be better versions of ourselves and to do good on the planet. Like I feel like we're here to be better and to bring good to Earth.
Yeah.
Like I don't believe we're sitting here just to suck it up and suffer effectively.
I say that all the time. I know that my soul didn't come here to suffer for my entire life.
Exactly.
This is a human experience. We all have our ups and downs. We all go through tons of ups and downs. everyone does it, everyone has their own individual journey here. And it is very comforting to know that we are supported and to think that, I feel like my grandmother's presence.
Absolutely.
Um, Other people feel specific angels or other force. Everybody has different experiences. For me personally, I do. I feel like my grandmother's even more this week, actually. Um, but it is nice. It is nice to feel that comfort and to feel safe about how I move forward. Like I've got support. It's me supporting myself, but I also feel that support, which is like feeling that love, like, Maria, you've got this. You've got this. You've got the next step. You can do this. And it's my soul connecting to, yeah, the energies around me, I guess. And that's how I like to think about it is, yeah, it's a nice feeling. It's a very nice feeling.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what I feel as well. And like I said, I'll probably just look down at my notes real quick.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So Gemini is a sign of the twins, and it rules tech and communication. It also kind of rules over what some astrologers refer to as like our first world, like when we're learning how to speak, going to school. So our relationships with our siblings, short distance travel. And I mention that because since tomorrow, Uranus is going to be moving into the sign of Gemini. Um, and so it'll probably be impacting technology in a big way. So people may have been seeing other people talk about like how the expansion of AI and all these other things are probably going to intensify. And I do believe that too, personally. I mean, I've heard other people say that things that used to take 10 years to develop technologically will probably take a year now. And I think it's going to be that radical and that fast. And I understand why people are scared of that, but I'm going to talk about other ways to deal with that fear and anxiety that might be coming up in people.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah, let's go there.
yeah, but I wanted to talk about like some of the another astrologer. If people want to look her up on Substack, Leah Whitehorse. She's got great stuff, and I'm going to pull from some of what she talked about on Uranus and Gemini in the past, like some of the big things that happened during that time. That kind of gives you a sense and flavor of what we might experience or what is to come. And people just kind of like, and I'm sure a lot of the folks who listen to this are like kind of geeks like us, so just want to go there. Uh, so in 1440, no specific date, the invention of the Gutenberg press. That was during a Uranus and Gemini transit, and of course, the printing press changed how we related to mass communication. April 1775, first off of the American Revolution. That was also against the backdrop of Pluto and Aquarius, which is what we're in now as well. But basically, a new way of governing happened. August 16th, 1858, the first transatlantic message sent via cable telegraph. Again, changes in communication. November 24th, 1859, publication on the origin of the species, that revolutionized how we thought about evolution. And then April 12th, 1861, started the American Civil War. April 20th, 1862, Louis Pasteur completed tests that lead to the pasteurization. So that revolutionized our relationship to food, having shelf life with food and drink. January 1st, 1863, the Emancipation Proclamation announced by Lincoln. So that was the beginning of the end of slavery in the US. Unfortunately, August 6th and 9th, August 1945, the atomic bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. So the splitting of the atom. Um, Also in 1945, though, October 24th, United Nations formally established. I didn't know this, September 18th, 1947, the Central Intelligence Agency established. And
Okay.
then April 4th, 1949, NATO established. So when you see all that, you see the themes of communication, how we relate to one another, but also changes in government, how the world is governed. And that often happens during when Pluto is in Aquarius, which is going to be for like another 17 years or so now. So this is why we're going to continue to see changes in how countries are governed overall. Now I'm going to get into all of that right here. But the other thing that I wanted to remind people of, or share with folks, and what I always found fascinating when I first learned about Uranus is that Uranus was the first planet discovered by a telescope, so not seen by the naked eye. Was discovered by a telescope and observed by William Herschel in 1781. So Uranus is literally a new perspective that we didn't have before and a new tool to give us a new perspective. And I feel like everything that I just read, it amplifies that as well. So I feel like that's what's coming for us in these next 7 years. All this technology is going to give us a new perspective on how we see ourselves and the world and how we relate to one another and how we communicate with one another.
We're living in some exciting times.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be historical for no doubt.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and I know people are scared about that. And what I've been encouraging people to do is that one of the ways to address the fear and the anxiety around all this sweeping change that we will no doubt live through is to get back in the body. That one of the reasons why I always encourage people to do this inner development, or what, traditionally is referred to as shadow work, is because all of that stuff, and like I was talking about earlier, dealing with the rage and the grief, moving through all of that puts us literally more physically in the body. And I don't think it's an accident that we had this great Aries stellium right before Uranus moves back into Gemini, because Aries is about the primal instinct as well, the primal intuition of the body. And so I feel like the cosmos is giving us an invitation to move through all of that stuff so that we can have a clearer hearing of our primal intuition, because that's what we're going to need to discern fact from fiction as all of these sweeping changes happen. Because at the end of the day, the body always knows the truth. And so, and Uranus also rules the nervous system. So I feel like the nervous system is going to expand in its capacity and capability to discern the truth during this transit as we get bombarded with all this new stuff. Because Gemini can also be the trickster. We're going to have a lot of misinformation coming at us fast and furious over the next 7 years. Like, you thought it was bad before, you ain't seen nothing yet.
Wow.
But we
Okay.
have this, but if we lean into the invitation to be more in the body and allow our bodies, our nervous system, our DNA to continue to expand, more codes to come online, we'll be able to discern what we need to know. Like, the body is the key to that, is my intuition. And that's what I'm encouraging people to do. Like, if you can stay more in your body and allow your body's gifts and strengths to expand during this transit, you'll be able to move through all the crazy, crazy and do it from a place of discernment and maturity and integration.
Oh, I love that. I love, yeah, because we've all already been through so much already in our lives. Like I said, all the ups, but all the downs. And now if we're more aware of how we are and what our body feels like, and yeah, that guidance, that intuition, which I love.
It's kind of like going back to what our ancestors had to do when they were out in the wild. They had to trust on their instincts and their body to let them know what
Yes.
was safe and what wasn't. We're going
Yes.
to have a new level of that.
Wow. And if we're feeling it now, that's going to be super interesting
Right.
what we're gonna be experiencing more and more and more. Um,
Which is why I was excited about this space and your conscious conversations, because we need more people like you doing this sort of thing, because this is what's going to help people get into that awareness and that awakening and give them concrete tools on how to actually do it.
yeah. So what I heard the most out of all of what you described was being in our body.
Absolutely.
That's really the bottom line, is being in our body.
Right. And we have control over that. That's where the power is. That's where the agency is. Like, so much of what we're bombarded with is to take us out of our center and to make us feel like we're helpless and hopeless. And you cannot give in to that. You have to be radically optimistic during these times and to reclaim your own agency. And this is why I'm so passionate about what I do, what I bring to people, because I want to remind people, like, you are the source, you are the solution. You just have to remember it.
Yeah. I I'm really enjoying where this conversation's going. It's like another wake up call right
Exactly.
now. Um, yeah. Well, I'm just going to keep working on myself and following my intuition and um, yeah, and also projecting. I believe we're also allowed to project how we feel.
Yes.
You know, so projecting the love that we feel, the peace that we want, right? We can project what we want. Um, peace, love, understanding, compassion for all,
Yes.
for all, even the ones that you may have some issues with. It's like, no, I want love for that person as well.
Well, they're all playing their part.
We're all
Everybody's
playing
doing
our
their
part.
part to help us evolve to the next stage.
Yeah. So it's super, super, super interesting what you just said. Um, and so what I know that you also do like energy healing as well with all this information.
Yeah, I think of myself as an astro counselor. I start with the astrology, the transit, what's going on collectively. So even if you don't know your birth time and I can't run an actual chart on you, I can still work with you on like how you're probably being impacted by the astrological energies of our times. And then I've done a lot of other healing work, life counseling in the past, and other certifications. So I gave myself permission to just create a space where I can do what calls to me in the moment, what I feel that person needs in the moment. And I call it like mirroring. Like that's why I have my business has new sacred mirrors. And so my 30-minute session is just $30 and it's called Witnessing You. And it's an opportunity for me to witness back to you the truth of yourself, help you see what's keeping you from really living or being in your zone of genius. And that's a snapshot of my You Illuminated session, which is 90 minutes, where I can really like sit with people talking them and then I can reflect back
You
to them.
you froze just a little bit. Can you repeat that last sentence? You froze a little bit.
Oh, I was just saying, my You Illuminated session, it's 90 minutes and it's the opportunity for me to reflect back to you the truth of yourself. And just, I like 90 minutes kind of gives people more time to work through what they need to work through. And if necessary, I can bring in energy work, like Reiki healing work and that sort of thing for people.
That's so cool. And we'll put all that information up in the description
Okay.
when we have all the links to that.
Oh, but I also have my school community, and that's just $9 a month or $50 a year. And we meet weekly, and it's just to kind of talk about either the astrology or whatever is going on with folks. And it's a choice. It's just really a space for me to have community, and I wanted people to be able to support one another as we're going through these challenges as well.
Okay. And can I ask you a question?
Hmm.
So when just going back to the astrology part of it and the
Hmm.
planets, um, how do you get your information about where the planets are?
Oh, well, there are a lot of astrologer resources for astrologers, and I have access to that stuff, and that's what I use. And then I'm an intuitive astrologer for the most part. I'm also leaning more into what they call evolutionary astrology, and that's where you, like I was talking about earlier, where you look at the chart as a snapshot of your potential and as a living, breathing experience. It's not just a snapshot of the day you were born. So it's a combination of that and really my own intuition about what the stars and the planets are telling me about what's going on.
And then I guess because you keep using the word intuition, would that be then if I'm reading my horoscope, for instance,
Hmm.
or yeah, I don't do that as much now, but back a few years
Hmm.
ago when I was going through the growth, I'm like, I'm looking for any kind of information that'll be fun to kind of follow. Um, but with where was I going? With the horoscopes, or
Well,
with
follow your own intuition.
yeah,
Like
with the
even if you work with
intuition.
other astrologers,
Yeah.
like you know what's true for you. Like even if you are reading a horoscope for your rising sign, that's probably going to be more accurate, quote unquote. If it resonates, it resonates. If it doesn't, it doesn't. And I tell people, even if they work with me or other astrologers, if what I tell you about your chart, if it doesn't resonate, trust your own knowing and your own experience. Like your life and your body, you're the ultimate source on what's true for you. We're just a guide to what could potentially be there.
Like digging in deeper.
Yeah, because that's what I did. I followed my own intuition and I was learning more and more about astrology and like hearing how negative a lot of people were. My gut was like, that's wrong. There's another way to do this. And I kept reading and researching until I was like, oh, there is another way to look at this. And like I can trust my own intuition on what I'm feeling or knowing. And when I started working with people from that perspective, they were like, yeah, that's what it feels like. I got confirmation that my intuition was right some of the time. So at the end of the day, like, trust you.
Yeah. I love the word intuition. I've used that a lot in my journey. Um, it's I've followed it. I have really, really, really been following my intuition, which is the what I feel is it's internal, but it's also up here. It's like
Hmm.
that inner gut feeling, and then those thoughts that keep coming back that it almost feels like it's like another little voice talking to me, like like you really should call that person. You've already thought about it. You thought about it last week and last month, and now you're thinking about it right now, and and then just saying, okay, yes, yes. Because I also heard, I remember when I took the reconnecting with myself class. I remember her saying that the woman that I took it with. I don't know why this phrase like just stayed with me, but it was like your intuition speaks to you. So it's like that soul, that inner voice, that inner guidance speaks to you 3 times. And it just stuck with me. And so like I was like, okay, this is the third time it's happened. Like I'm gonna take action right now. Um, and it was yeah, and then all of a sudden I'm just doing it, like, okay, yeah, I want to call that person and I'm not gonna like, because you can listen to your intuition over and over and over again and not take any action and just ignore it. And then you're not getting anywhere. You're just listening to the same messages over and over again, but you're not doing anything about it. And then you're procrastinating all the time. And I mean, that was a lot of my old thought patterns were a lot of procrastination of when is the right time to do it? When is the right time to do it? But it's like that gut feeling. And I feel like it's a gift um that that I have. Oh, like when I'll just share a quick story. When I did I took like a manifestation course.
Hmm.
Um when I was starting, there was a woman offering a manifestation course. She's in Spain. She offered it in Spanish. And I've shared this story so many times because it really, really was very cool. And it was about my intuition. But it was a manifestation course, and we were able to work on something that we wanted to manifest. And I'm like, well, I want to manifest an apartment with water view, and I'm going to put a white L-shaped couch and I need it furnished. I need two bedrooms, and I want a white L-shaped couch in my living room. And I started the process of looking for apartments, but I just let it flow. Like I already had the idea. I had already thought about the idea so often. It almost like started becoming a memory of what it felt like to live here. And then I had a realtor who showed me one apartment after another. And then and the last one, we were like just really getting further away from the water views and the ocean. And the last one he showed me was uh, on in the balcony. There was literally building a building in front of it. And I'm like, and I said, oh, and I said it out loud to my realtor. I said that we're going in the wrong direction. The realtor that was showing us that apartment, the one that had the construction in front of it, heard me, and she said, I just heard of an apartment in this area that I live in with a water view. That's all she said. She didn't give any details about anything, the bedrooms, nothing, nothing. And within a split second, that my intuition, like I just turned to my realtor and I said, I want to go look at that apartment tomorrow morning at 10:30 in the morning. And my realtor was like, what? Because he was the one scheduling all the appointments. And sure enough, 10:30 comes around the next morning and I walk in and this is, I'm living here now.
Wow.
And I asked all the questions like, okay, how many bedrooms? Yep. How much does it cost? Okay. Furnished? Okay, but I don't want that because I'm going to put my white L-shaped couch here. And then I signed the lease like the next week. And she said,
Wow.
can you move in 2 weeks? And I'm like, okay. And I had a really good friend of mine with me at the time. So I came, I signed the lease, and I said, well, I got to go find that white L-shaped couch because I'm moving in. I'm moving in like 2 weeks. And the second store we went to, my couch was at the front door on sale. I bought it in 15 minutes.
Wow.
Um, and it all, I know that it was based on my intuition of just like that gut feeling, like, and I don't know where it came from. I really, at that moment, I don't know where it came from, but it was like, I want to go look at it. Like, I have to go look at it. I can't not look at it. And here I am 2 years later. And this has really been my, what I call my sanctuary, my growth.
Wow. Beautiful.
So intuition, huge word for me. And I love that you keep mentioning that, just follow your gut instincts, follow what's right for you.
Right. And I feel like that story is a great example of coherence too, that more and more of us are feeling called to. It's like that integration of the three brains, the gut, the heart, and the actual brain.
Yes.
And it sounds like that story was a classic example of like how coherence can work. And more of us are feeling more and more of that.
Oh, I love it. I'll take more and more of that anytime. Um, because I saw it, like I saw proof of it that we are connected to something higher than ourselves that we may not be totally aware of right now because there's just so much, the world, the universe is the cosmos. It's just a vast. We think that we're just here, and that we're the only ones that exist, and here it's planet Earth, and we're just living this life here. But it's like, no, we're connected to so much more, so
Yes,
much
so
more.
much.
We talked about our ancestors. Like we
Hmm.
are connected to our ancestors who are no longer here, but they're around in the spirit world, and we feel them. People dream,
Absolutely.
people dream about them. We talk about them as angels, or we might see butterflies. It's like, oh, this butterfly
Hmm.
reminded me of my grandmother or my whoever, someone that may have passed away in the past. And that someone that passed away in the past. Yes. Um, um, but it is fun to like, and we go back to that guidance. Like we are supported, we are safe, we are loved. And it's also like within ourselves, right?
Absolutely.
We love
Absolutely.
ourselves, we feel that safety within ourselves. And yeah, and we are experiencing all these different energies and just I want to go because what I just said, like, so how do we experience that energy? Like what the physical symptoms are.
Well, I think it's going to be different for everybody. Some people feel it, some people know, some people see, some people hear, and just trust whatever comes to you. None of it's right or wrong. It's just different.
Okay. Okay. And then you said, so you used to be in the whole project manager, like that whole world of journalism and
Well, I started as a journalist and then I worked I did admin stuff and then I moved into sales and then from sales I got into project management. And I still have a day job. I do this like part-time, but the intention is to be full-time as an astrologer, astro counselor. So that's what I'm moving to. That's where I am right now, my journey. So I'm just using everything that I've learned from everything in my life. And, I'm using it now as a way to serve others.
I love it. Please keep doing it because I feel your power. I feel your amazing energy. Um, Everything that we've talked about is so illuminating, right?
Hmm.
It's like, wait a second, I can really start looking at things differently, like stepping outside the box,
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
stepping outside the box and saying, okay, what's beyond all of this? Um, so that we can be like the best versions of ourselves with all of this guidance and tools that we all use to, yeah, to be the best version of ourselves.
Exactly. And I always end all of my YouTube videos and my podcasts. I have a free public podcast too called New Sacred Mirrors. You can get that on YouTube or Spotify right now. Hopefully, I'll have it up on Apple in a week or two. I have to figure that part out. And they're like 5 to 15 minutes. And I talk about everything, not just astrology on that. That's why I had that separate channel. But yeah, but I always end everything with honor the light within you. You know.
Honor the light within you. I love that. But yeah, we'll definitely put all the links up in the description so people can find you if they're interested in any healing, energy, anything that you have to say. I
Yeah,
think
and I'm going to be bold and invite myself back on. So whenever you want to have me back on again in the future, I'd love to come. And when
absolutely.
other major things are happening astrologically, I'll let you know, and then maybe we could talk about it before it happens. So yeah, but this was so much fun. I'm so happy and excited you invited me.
Oh,
Thank you so much.
I'm just honored. I'm really honored. When I started the podcast, I knew that I wanted to talk about astrology, and I actually mentioned, I knew I had you in mind.
Okay.
Well, just to let viewers know, we met through the Light and Love Club, the Divinely Aligned Club, and then we met in person, just like I met Debs in the last podcast. You and I met in person in Bali in
Yeah.
January, and just immediately connected. Like it was an immediate attraction with our energies.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, I think there's going to be more to come between you and me.
Absolutely.
We're definitely going to be yeah, we're very connected. I
Yeah. And
definitely
I'm
feel
happy to be
that.
in the founding 10 episodes for this podcast.
Well, I always had you in mind. I always like these are the things that light me up that I want to talk about because I'm curious about them. And I'm going to probably re-listen to this podcast quite a few times, um, because honestly, when you started talking about all the planets, and I see the like all the moon pictures behind you, but when you started talking about all the planets, I'm like, okay, what? Like, wait,
And yeah, it's
this
a lot, which is
planet
why
and
I
this
try to
planet?
just get down to like the bottom line. That here's what it means. Don't get too caught up in like the astrocalculus, as I say sometimes.
Yeah. And bottom line, the so what can you kind of go back again to let's go back to the horoscopes because that was kind of like how I started the
Okay.
first question. What would you say about horoscope? Like just follow what
I mean, if you want to follow horoscopes, then I would suggest finding out your rising sign. Like I said, you can go to all the free astrology sites that like will run your birth chart, and they'll tell you what your sun, moon, and rising are, and then read horoscopes for the rising sign. So if you follow anybody that daily, weekly, or monthly, that'll probably resonate more for you. So.
okay. Yeah, I started when I first started, I was watching a couple of horoscopes like on YouTube.
Mhm.
But they no longer resonate with me,
hmm
I guess.
And also, that's my other intuition too, is that the way we relate to astrology is changing. So that's why I don't always talk about like the more mundane specific, as they say on my current Moon Life Illuminated channel, and that's why I use it more as like it's an entryway into doing this inner exploration. That's how I'm using astrology, and I feel like that's how more and more people are going to be relating to astrology, not so much from a predictive aspect, but from how am I growing and expanding internally? And how can I use that to help change my life and change the world for better?
Right. Because that word predict is, um, yeah, I've been exploring the word predictions, more and more and how they mean to me. It used to be where it's like, I want to know what's going to happen. I was like, I love time travel books and that kind of thing, and time travel movies. And I'm like, I want to know what's going to happen. But then another part of me was like, if I already know what's going to happen, then I'm going to be stressed out about how it's going to happen and how I need to do things instead of just saying, I trust that this is what I'm meant to experience and live because it's what I want. And this is how I want to feel in that
Exactly.
experience. And if somebody says, okay, well, this is going to happen, then our minds automatically go to the prediction mode. Okay, well, that's going to happen. And then we start thinking more about it and we give it more power. We give
Right.
that thought more power, where I don't want to give ill thoughts more power. I want to stay in the present, use whatever tools I can, but not go with someone saying, this is going to happen this way, because we can't control what's going
Exactly.
to happen. We can plan for things, but we can't control anything.
Exactly.
The only thing I can control, and I just keep saying that, it's like the only thing I can control is what I'm experiencing right at this very, very, very moment
Exactly.
in the
Exactly.
now. So, oh, we could talk for hours again.
I
Yes.
know. I know we're both air signs. We can go on forever.
I'm so excited to keep exploring this. Yeah, it's
Me too.
air sign. Like I always thought Aquarius was a water sign, and
Well,
then
it's
it's
the
like, well,
water
you're
bearer, but it's an air
water
sign.
bear. And then I'm like, wait, air? Like, but agua in Spanish.
Yeah, Aquarius is interesting. It's the only astrology sign that has a human as a symbol. All the other ones have animals or things, but it's the water bearer. And it's because they brought water like to the systems in Rome. And so it was like about making a system better for the community. So that's where the Aquarius Association comes from, technology breakthroughs and being for like the community. But it's technically an air sign. So,
Okay.
but people confuse it all the time.
Well, we have like 1 or 2 more minutes. Since I'm an Aquarius and you're an Aquarius, I'm going to be selfish here. Um, what is the sign of Aquarius to you? Like what,
Oh,
because we're in the age of Aquarius. I keep hearing we're in the age of Aquarius, and then a
yeah,
song comes to my mind where this is
yeah,
the dawning of the age of Aquarius.
yeah, yeah. Well, for me, Aquarius is, that combination of revolutionizing a system, but for the greater good of the community. Like that's the higher expression of Aquarius. The lower expression can be what people often say is like the Aquarius cares for people, not so much the individual. Sometimes we can be so like out there and esoteric and kind of absent-minded professor like that, like we forget about the impact that like our decisions have on individuals, you know, um, or we're not always the most emotionally open as a sign, as they say. So, um, but every sign has its highest expression and lowest expression, and you make the most of what you got, basically.
Yeah, I feel a little part of both, but the higher one, the one that you said first, yeah, sharing, wanting better for the communities,
Yeah.
everybody, the whole humankind, and sharing.
Yeah, like that's what I'm always moving towards as my sun sign. Like I want to embody that aspect of it, of using systems and technology for the greater good. That's why I love doing online work. That's classic Aquarian, like doing spiritual service work through technology, literally. Like that's very Aquarian, what we're doing.
Yeah. Well, like having a Zoom, like would you say
Yeah, and having an online podcast. Yeah, that's
having an online
classic Aquarian.
classic Aquarian? I love that. I love that. Yeah, because that's definitely been a path here of learning the technology of all this for
Hmm.
me, which I
Hmm.
keep, I've definitely challenged myself to do this.
Yeah, but you're doing it with the intention of connecting with who you interview with and also connecting to the community and uplifting the collective.
Yeah, I am. Thank you for saying that, because that's definitely that was the guidance that I really felt.
Hmm.
Um, like we started the conversation. It's like I just want everyone to sort of get something, whether they resonate with one person or another conversation, or like we all have different tools that we've used. And for me, this is a fascinating subject, and I'm gonna delve into it a little bit more
Oh, cool.
and find out what's more with my Aquarius sign, and explore that a little bit more.
Oh,
So,
awesome.
well, thank you so, so much for being with me
No,
today.
thank
I
you.
had so much fun. I I have, yeah, yeah, there's a lot more that we can talk about um as the year unfolds
Hmm.
for us. And yeah, it's an interesting year so far.
Yes. And it's going to get more interesting. So, yes.
Yeah. So And it's experiencing the ups and downs, but I feel like I'm just so connected with myself now that even the downs, like I know how to handle them better because I've experienced them before. And so I don't go into the drama part of it as much. I don't make it as dramatic. Because the more drama that's a whole other conversation. But I just give it my best intention. I give it my good intentions, my happiest intentions. So, and my loving intentions. And I know that you're doing it as well for the same reason, just kind of spreading more love in our communities,
Absolutely.
the world. So thank you, Darice. Thank you so, so much for being with me. And I will talk to you soon. Um, and when we'll see each other in Canada and with the Light and Love Club, we'll see each other in
Yes.
Canada in August, which is going to be
Yeah.
a lot of fun
Yes.
for another immersion with Courtney from the Light and Love Club,
Yes.
divinely aligned, channeled Light and Love Club,
Yes.
which I'm so thankful for that we met through that.
Me too. I'm so grateful for it
Yeah,
as well.
great, great, great community of a lot of individuals waking up to their own selves and their own truth, and it's
Yes.
fascinating to see all the different individual paths, how incredibly different we all are, and yet we all have the same kind of energy,
Exactly.
which is just a beautiful frequency. It's just a really beautiful the way we all align. It's really,
Yeah.
really
Oh, and I just want to say thank you to anyone who's
yeah.
made it throughout the entire conversation, who listened to both of us. Like, thank you for your time and your attention and your presence.
Well, thank you for saying that. Thank you so much for saying that. I agree. Thank you for sticking with us and following along and going with the flow with our conversation. Yeah, I definitely felt that flow. Uh,
Yes.
that it was like you're sitting right here in my living room talking with me.
Yeah,
So,
that's what it feels like. I love it.
and you've got the white couch, I've got the white couch. So, well, thank you so, so much, Darice. And we will end this with a lot of love, a lot of peace. And yeah, I have so much love for you. And just keep being you. You definitely are illuminating a lot of us in this world. And I think you're going to be illuminating a lot more.
Thank you.
I know you are. I
Much
know you
love to you
are.
too.
So thank you so, so much. All right. Goodbye, everybody. Thank you for joining us today. See you for the next one. Bye-bye.